Hello there. Thank you for tuning in to the Above the Net SWAC Volleyball News Show. You're listening to your host, Tamika Newman, volleyball analyst, two-time SWAC graduate, a bachelor's from Prairie View and a master's from Texas Southern, your 2006 SWAC Player of the Year. To make a long story short, hashtag I am SWAC. This segment of Dr. Mike Prince's already popular show intends to highlight elite performances by teams and individuals, interview current players and former players in order to give youth coaches, parents, and players an inside look into a SWAC volleyball program. Let's jump right into today's show. Our guest today is Coach Asada Conway, who's the head coach at Mississippi Valley State. Coach, we're grateful you made time to join us today. We know you're very busy. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Long time. It's been a long time coming. You know, I've been wanting to get here, but definitely, like you said, been super busy, so I'm happy to get here.
Yes, it's better late than never. Certainly know that it'll be worth the wait. Really want to hear about you and what you're doing over at Valley. So let's start out with just tell the listeners a bit about yourself. Take yourself all the way up to becoming the head coach at Valley.
Sure. So, a little bit about me. I am a Howard graduate. I played volleyball at Howard from 2011 to 2016. From then, I am a top 50 MEAC all-time lister. So I like to say I put in a little bit of work at Howard. The most interesting thing I think is, or what kind of also makes it almost purposeful to be here at Valley, is that when I was at Howard, we were actually ranked even lower than Mississippi Valley State was. So it's been cool to kind of build both programs and see what it's like to come from almost, you know, being at the very bottom of the NCAA to, you know, kind of building and seeing a little bit of success in the program. So I think if anybody is perfect for Valley, I think that's me. So I'm happy to be here, and it's been a great experience.
That's awesome. That's very, very insightful. I learned something today. You've got experience building programs, and I was talking to somebody about this before. Sometimes when people have been places that were already good, and they can't remember when a team or program was bad, or when they weren't as good of an athlete, they don't make for a great coach. But I already know that if you have the experience of building, you understand a process, and that you'll have Valley back where it needs to be in no time. So thank you for that. Thank you for that.
The mentality for sure.
Purpose. Yeah, exactly. So one of the things we do on this show is we ask questions for if coaches are listening, if prospective student athletes are listening, and parents are listening. So we'll just jump around a little bit. So let's talk about, how much did you know about Valley Volleyball? How ultimately, as much as you would like to share, how did you exactly get there?
Sure. Another part of, I guess, my volleyball journey has been starting a volleyball club in Houston called Space City Volleyball. So through Space City, I sent a couple of kids, and we only had Space City for about 3 years. But I was able to graduate a class of seniors who went to UAPB, Langston, and one of the kids actually went to Mississippi Valley State. So from there, that really was almost as far as I knew about the program, just kind of learning through her at the time. She was recruited by Coach Prince, who's now at Alcorn. So, you know, I was able to kind of have a little bit of insight as to what was going on, at least currently in the program. But as I've grown up and attended plenty of HBCU volleyball camps and met plenty of HBCU coaches who are basically now still coaches today, I didn't really see too much of Mississippi Valley State. So I ended up getting here because just kind of needing to lay higher and You know, our athletic director at the time, Hakeem McClellan, he knew about Space City, or he had found out about Space City and kind of reached out. I was actually on a bachelorette trip for my best friend's wedding. So we were in Mexico. I got the call, and I was like, well, I guess I'm moving to Mississippi, which was so far outside of anything that I had planned or seen for myself. But I actually was supposed to go to another campus starting that August, and I think I got this call in July. I was supposed to go to another campus in August and, you know, kind of redirected where I was going. So in the next 2 weeks, I had to pack up my life and move to Mississippi.
Woo, to Mississippi. You brave soul for that one. I want to go back. Yeah, I want to go back here a minute. One of the things I like to tell my players now is that I'm very fortunate that my coaches can be a professional reference for me almost 20 years later. And I'm telling them that to encourage them to have high character, great work ethic now, because your coach should be able to vouch for that because they've seen it, they've witnessed it. But isn't it great when your players can be a reference for you? That really says a lot about the kind of coach and the kind of person you were, because as an adult, you almost feel like, you know, you don't owe kids, you don't owe it to kids to live up to a certain standard, but they owe it to you because they're going to need you one day. You're not going to need them. And not saying you needed her, but isn't it great when your players can be your reference to know this is who she is. I know her resume says this, but I'm telling you, this is who shows up. This is who I know. So kudos to you. That's awesome that your player was able to speak to you, to the type of coach that you were, and that their AD learned about what you were doing and thought you were a great fit. I'm really inspired by that.
Definitely. Like I said, that just kind of feeds into why I believe this is all pretty purposeful. You know, I met that kid when she was a senior out of high school, so for her to be a senior in college and, you know, look up and I was coaching her team, it was just definitely very full circle.
Yes, it's definitely a God thing. Definitely a God thing. Let's go on the player side. Talk about what's the biggest adjustment as a player from high school to making the jump to college?
The biggest adjustment, as far as, I'll give you, I guess, two perspectives, and I guess that's why I paused, because athletically, I think, you know, at this level, I think the biggest adjustment is speed. Our game is just a little bit faster at this level than it would be in the high school level. So if any kid is listening or any prospective athlete is listening, I would definitely say, you know, get faster. No matter what position you are in, just trying to find a way to get faster, whether you are a setter, try to make those sets a little bit faster. If you're a middle, trying to make sure that, you know, you're running faster sets or you're able to get up before the block. And, you know, as a libero, same thing. On the other hand, I think the biggest adjustment to just being a college athlete, period, is discipline. It takes a lot to just get up and go to class after you've been on weights in the morning. You know, get up and go to class after maybe you just arrived back to campus at 3 a.m. So, you know, it just takes a whole lot of discipline to kind of be successful at this level.
Awesome. Those are great. I definitely agree with those. On top of adjusting to being responsible for yourself, nobody's going to come wake you up. That definitely adds to you adjusting to the speed of the game, your new coach, your new teammates. Just the fact that you're now responsible for yourself. You have to be really intentional in how you make that transition so you're successful doing it. One last question as a player. What's one thing you learned as a college athlete? And we're supposed to, we preach that sports is life. What's one thing you learned that still helps you today in your life?
Yeah, I tell my kids all the time, grit. When you learn how to really overcome adversity and, you know, really power through and see yourself be successful after, you know, really climbing that mountain, you can really do anything. I've faced so many different, you know, just challenges in the workplace. I've been a teacher. I've been a volleyball club director, a gym owner, now a head volleyball coach at the Division I level. So I've seen a lot of different challenges, but I think just learning how to really power through as an athlete has really just helped me to kind of find success in my adult life as well.
Exactly. That grit, that everyday challenges, they're just nonstop, but being able to get through one, wake up, do it again, push through the next one, you know, wake up, do it again. It's exactly what we're trying to teach them every day. And losing is one of those things that really teaches grit, because you got to get up and face the day after losing. And it's not an easy thing to do, but when our student athletes are able to do that, we know the sky's the limit for their life. There's some kids I look at, their adversities they push through, I know something great is waiting for you because I know what's in you. So that's really good. Certainly use grit every day. What made you get into coaching? So you got out of college. Was that what you wanted to do, or was it to sort of present it to you, a great opportunity? Talk about what you wanted to do, what you went to college with the intent to do.
Sure. So what is super funny to me, and they say when, you know, you make plans, God laughs, and I think that's definitely what happened to me. But when I got out of college, or when I finished playing volleyball, I literally wanted nothing to do with volleyball. I was just tired of being a student athlete. I felt like, you know, my life after playing through club or playing sports, you know, your whole life, you just always tied to some type of schedule or some type of routine. So I was kind of excited to just kind of be free, or what I thought was going to be free. Then I got a little broke. so I started coaching, and it really was just very eye-opening, because I realized I might be good at this, you know, and I realized that it was almost natural for kids to kind of gravitate towards me, or, you know, want to listen and want to just kind of be under my leadership. So from there, I just kind of had to push myself to be a better leader and see what I had to do to see, you know, just kind of make improvements for me to really take on the role of a coach and really grow my career in coaching. So it's been very much a very divine journey. Like I said, I didn't see myself at all coaching. I just wanted to go to work, and all of my coaches will tell you that I just wanted to go to work. But here I am.
Yes, thank God you are. I want to highlight something for coaches that are listening. You stated something like, once you realized it was something you wanted to do, then you got started working on becoming better at it. And that's something I preach to young coaches, having been in it for a little while. Once you realize you have some natural talent at it and kids gravitate to you, that's just the first step. Now you've got to go get some formal education on coaching. You've got to be growing professionally and in your personal development to be an elite coach and be an effective coach. So that's really key there. I want to highlight it, make sure coaches hang on to that point, because the profession, being a volleyball coach, is growing because there's clubs everywhere. One of the things I do, I work with clubs, and I go in and start talking about putting together practicing plans, communicating effectively, managing conflict, creating a system, creating a skills language, aligning your grade levels, age levels, so kids are learning in a progression. So I think there's a huge need for people to continue to develop and not just coach because they love the sport, because most people get into it because they played and they love it, but doing and coaching, or doing and teaching, are two different skill sets. So I'm hoping with the growth of the game, the growth of the coaches will come at the same rate.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
I think it's also important, sorry, I just want to add real quick, I think it's also important that we do continue to develop as coaches because, truthfully, kids are developing. Nobody's the same. Everything's different from when it was even when I was entering my first year in college, which was 2011, so 13 years. The game has totally changed. Kids are much better. They think differently, So in order to stay successful and continue to grow, you really, really do have to know where kids are in the moment and kind of adjust from there. So it's no longer about kids having to adjust to coaches. Coaches truly need to adjust to kids.
You make a great point there. You make a really great point there. And the coaches that have had some longevity, when you talk about Coach White, Coach Penny Lucas White, who I've interviewed and know very well, she'll tell you that. And she's over 2 decades in this. She's like, hey, I had to go back, stop, pause. How do I coach today's athletes? So that's a really great point. Well, let's get into the season. I like to start with, let's go back, talk about, you guys did not make the tournament last year. You probably had some holes to fill in terms of recruiting, some needs for the team. How did you do with filling those holes? And then talk to me about, take me up to when camp started, how you think camp went.
So it's definitely been a journey. When I came in, I had about 4 days, I believe, until our season started last year. I walked into a team of 8. We played, honestly, about 75% of our season with just 6 due to injuries and, other situations. So literally no subs for the majority of our season. So that was really my biggest, push going into this season, was just to make sure that we had a healthy number of players to compete. Anybody will tell you last year our team played super hard. They really did, and I'll never take that away from them. However, we just truly didn't have the tools to compete against the schools that we, had in the SWAC. We really were undersized last year, so I really wanted to go find some middles and, some players that can really stop a ball at the net. We have 19 on our roster this year, so it's been truly interesting. But I think the biggest thing to highlight about this 19 is that they are so special in the sense that they get along like they've known each other for their whole lives. Like, they will tell you they want to stay together. They love it. They love the situation. They push each other. They advocate for each other. I honestly could not ask for it. I've never seen it, and I cannot ask for a better situation in the players that I have today. So it's been super exciting. They're growing every year. Sometimes they look amazing. We are just super young, so we've been struggling trying to close out a lot of the youth games. But I am excited about what will definitely look like from here moving forward.
Coach, that's phenomenal. Wow. That is really amazing. On the contrary, sometimes there's teams that are very talented, but as a coach, I'm speaking for myself, they're not a joy to coach. They're not a joy to be around. I want it to be over. I don't like the way they play the game. The attitudes are not great. Their character is not intact. But I can work with kids that need time to develop, but they get along. They respect the coach. They're coachable. I'm very happy to hear that that's the situation, because I know the volleyball side is challenging right now. But that's incredibly promising. So you did a great job with vetting and getting kids in there that were right for the program and right for this journey that you have ahead with getting them better. That's really awesome. I love hearing that.
Thank you. It was, a little bit intimidating just knowing that I wanted to lean towards bringing in freshmen versus hitting the transfer portal, because culture was a big thing. I think here at Valley, or having kids that want to or can see themselves being successful here at Valley was one thing, versus bringing in kids who just wanted to play a season here at Valley, if that makes sense. So I think the best way to do that was through freshmen, where I could really mold them into being the team that they needed to be in order to be competitive this year.
Certainly. And it's one thing to go for kids that are talented. You're not sure if they believe they should be there or they're going to value the school. But when you go for those freshmen, 9 times out of 10, they've looked at the school, they can see themselves there, even outside of just volleyball. So It's very important to pick kids that they want to be at that school. That's awesome. I'm excited about that. What did you learn about your team in the preseason?
I learned that we had so much potential, but, again, we were very young. So I had to kind of go back to the drawing board and see, what skills were skills that I needed to prioritize, improving week to week, because I am, kind of by myself. So there were things that I had to kind of scale back and target versus trying to maybe give them a holistic list of things that we needed to do this season, or even, scale back when it comes to film study and scouting reports, just kind of give them a little bit at a time, a little bit so that they can understand it versus just throwing out a million different things at once and expecting them to conceptualize and be able to, perform accordingly. So it's been a lot of trial and error, but I've definitely learned how to, present information to my team in a way that'll make them a little bit more effective. And I think it's definitely been working. Like I said, I've definitely seen improvement week to week, and they have as well. So that's always a good situation.
Very. When they can see the improvement, you'll get that buy-in, and they'll hang in there with you. That's really awesome. You talked about something I can relate to it. Some jobs that I've been at, some programs, is not giving them a lot of information. One of the things when you have a team that's a little underdeveloped, you really have to focus on you. Almost talking about opponents is really not going to be important and effective until they've improved their own skills. There's no point in talking about what this team does and trying to prep. It's just trying to play the best brand of your volleyball, people playing at their max where they are right then, versus really talking about opponents. And I'll have to explain that to some young coaches. Are we going to do a scouting plan? No. My kids are still building confidence and skills. We just got to talk about us.
No, for sure. Yeah. Because, I found myself doing what I felt like doing all the things that I felt like a successful program had. So, scouting report, X, Y, Z. But at the end of the day, I had to see what will work for our team. What is, not too much of a hassle for me. What can I successfully do or implement consistently in a way that won't be overwhelming to me? Because, again, I am the only person, and I want to make sure that, I'm all I can be for my players as well. I don't want to be over here stressed out and, having to coach through that, because they really do sense that. So for me, it's really important to just keep the vibes going on our team. And I think that starts with me in the way that I present myself to them.
Always starts with the leader. That's very good reflection. It sounds like you have a very sound reflecting process. That's always good. Let's see, who has emerged as a leader? You get a chance to shout out one or more of your players that have emerged as a leader this season. So who you got?
Okay. Cool. This is super interesting. So I'm going to give you my 4 team captains. I have the 2 Brazilian twins who are amazing. They keep my girls together. When I tell you together, they are keeping them in line. That is Mariana Franco and Leticia Franco. I also have Ashlyn Hawkins, who's our libero. She's a sophomore libero who actually played a little bit of outside last year just due to the personnel that we had, but she's been super sound for us, as a leader. And then we have Michaela Lee, who is finally getting her time to shine. She is a junior. She's been at Valley all 3 years, but this year she's really finding her success. I think she's number 2 right now in assists in the SWAC. So she's finally getting to see her name on some leadership boards, and it's been awesome to see.
That's awesome. Hard work paying off. It's awesome to see. You're going into your second or third season? Second?
This is my second, yes.
Yes. So that's a young lady that was there when you got there. Sounds like she bought into you as the leader.
For sure.
Awesome. So how do you empower, speaking of leaders, how do you empower players to be a leader?
Man, it's a whole lot of leadership training going on around here, whether they know it or not.
Good.
But I really, like I said, I like to keep the vibes on my team, and with them being able to get along so well and really respect each other's opinion, I put a lot on my captain to, kind of diffuse a lot of situations before they become cancerous to what we have going on. And a lot of times that looks like maybe me meeting with them before and just telling them, like, here are some things that you need to focus on. You go handle that or whatever. If you need me, then come back to me. But I really have taught them that a lot of things can be handled by you, and conflict resolution is just a huge thing for me, as I know that, like I said, when they leave me, they're going to work. So, I really just want all of them to feel empowered to have an opinion and be able to talk through things and know that you have the skills to do those things because it's important.
That's great. And it started with who you picked because if you're going to be a leader, somebody's got to be willing to follow. You got to have great character. So it sounds like you got 4 young ladies that have great character, and then as well as the others who have that character as well. So you got a good picker. You did a great job.
And like I said, it's been a lot of, and I think coaches have to understand that too. Like, you can't just tell kids, hey, you're my captain, this is what I need you to do, and not give them the tools to do it. Even as adults, even as a boss or director or, I don't know, whatever, supervisor, we all go through training. So you have to understand that kids are human too. They need the same training to be successful, or the same, vision that you have so that they can implement it well.
Exactly. Need some guidance. You can't just throw out a directive. It needs some guidance along the way. So talk to me about you guys' record in the SWAC, who you have up next, and what you all need to do to make the tournament.
Oh, well, first we need to close. I am truly impressed with my team. I cannot say any different, whether I think we are 1-3 right now in the SWAC. Our next 4 opponents, we have University of Arkansas Pine Bluff, we have Graham, and we have Southern and Alcorn. So like I just told my team this morning, that these next 4 games are so important to our season and, where we'll end up when it comes time for a tournament. So we are focused on taking care of these next 4 games. After these 4 games, we have the tougher opponents, Alabama State again, Bethune, FAM, everybody else on the West, which have seemed to be a little bit tougher than the opponents on the East. So, we just got to take care of business. We won't see these people again. So if there is any moment, the moment is, this weekend. So
now. The time is now.
The time